We have to be out by 9, is that what you're saying?
We don't have to be out by 9.
But the goal is to aim for
But
9.
well, yeah, it's scheduled from 7 to 9.
Do they charge you more if you go past them?
No.
Are we
no,
eating
have
during
it
the
by
speeches
then.
then? Like the food is
That's-
served at
no,
7?
they won't. They don't think it was a good idea to eat and have yes, because they're too distracting.
But there's
People running
15
around.
speeches.
I think it's a good idea.
We had everyone will sit through 15
I mean,
speeches
we
and not
talked
eat.
about this before, Mom, and I thought you agreed that it made sense that people could eat while the 15 speeches are going, because otherwise they're going to get more hungry and more upset.
Dessert time.
No, who said we? Who's we?
The caterer.
I think that's a bad idea. You're in charge and you can
That
just
many
tell
people,
them.
that go too long. With 16.
Wait, so what start the speeches?
I'm giving them two minutes.
Wait, you want to start the speeches at dessert? That's what they said?
I'm going to do the preliminary. That's welcome.
You want to do the welcoming at the dessert? That doesn't make any sense.
And then the speeches will be after.
See, half of the guests would be attendees, the other half of family.
And are all of them staying for dinner?
Oh yeah, no.
So what?
No, not all the conference attendees will stay because they have to leave. A lot of them are going back.
So when? So
Okay.
when does that all shake down and then we know who's there for dinner? What time do people leave? After his
Okay, so
speech?
Mom, here's a timeline. So let's just try to put things in the timeline. 7 o'clock, do they serve food at 7?
That's right. I'm going to ask them.
Let's make that. So
That's why I have
here's
to
one
put downstairs,
possibility.
But I'm not ready for what
Okay.
I'm supposed to be
Possibility
doing.
1, we serve food at 7.
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
Mhm.
Then dessert comes at 8.
Dessert comes at 7:30.
The whole meal is finished from 7:30, and then
Maybe
speeches.
one they're pretty fast.
Is that during the keynote?
That was after, before the keynote.
So keynote is at 7:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
well, I will.
okay,
yeah.
so here's what your current plan is. They serve food at 7.
Mhm.
You watch them as they do. Once they start serving food, usually it takes about 10 to 15 minutes before the last person has
That's
their
right,
table.
yeah.
So 7:15, food is on the table.
Okay, we don't need
Okay.
that.
And then your idea is you want dessert's not going to serve at 3rd. So that doesn't make any sense.
7:30 with
It
dessert.
won't be.
A 3-course meal in half an hour.
In 15
for
minutes, but
120
Okay,
people.
7:45.
And like more like 8.
Yeah, okay, dessert will probably be served at 8.
So wait, so you're planning? I thought you were going to have Dad do a speech before we started eating.
No.
So what time is he going to do?
So I think he's going to start at 8 as well.
8 o'clock.
Or 7:30, she was thinking that's not good.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
dessert
that's why
plan,
I
we're
want to
talking
push
about
it.
Why don't they?
7:45.
Why don't they? You don't want. So you want them to be completely finished eating before all the speeches.
Not completely finished. We start in, like the preliminary.
How about this?
Introduction.
How about can Dad say his speech at 7 o'clock?
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
Because it was a banquet first. Everybody's hungry.
So it is part of the conference then. So there'll be
That's
conference.
right.
And so when are people leaving? After dinner?
No way.
You just said that some people are leaving.
Some
so-
people
They've
leave after
already
dinner.
left, gone. They're not attending the banquet.
Okay.
The one who did.
And then you have 15 minutes for 15 people to speak. That
That's
doesn't make
why
any
everybody
sense.
had 1 minute.
It doesn't make any
No,
sense,
no,
Mom. It
no,
doesn't.
no.
15 minutes for 15 speeches.
No. Okay, I have the Chinese seminary student, and Donald's going to speak, and then they have a guy who's going to do.
I know the list, but I
Chinese-
mean, this is the thing.
No, it's not complete. The Chinese.
You've added people to
So basically, if according to this timeline, Mom, all the things you're talking about, the Chinese thing, the 50 people, that starts at 8:45, and you want to end at 9. It doesn't make any sense.
9:30.
No, so
I'm gonna add a
the way
9:30.
you've described it, the 15. Okay, so if it ends.
So this whole banquet, it's almost more conference than banquet. You've
Of
got,
course, this is part of conference.
but you can't invite friends and family for his 75th birthday and then
That's
make them
why
attend
we
a
made it
conference.
lighter. He only speak for half an hour instead of 1.
But you have to
But the
divide
student
the
get
conference.
1.0 CE.
I think no, Mom. You can't treat this as a conference anymore. You've got half the people here are here for his birthday. They can't come for a half-hour birthday.
Well, I just opened the DVD and with MP3 sound.
It's very short. It's 40 slides. I think.
Oh, no.
40 slides.
So that they go like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Is it running in the background, or is it going to be something everyone pauses to watch?
No, it's going to be watched on both screens.
I know. Is it going to be in the background, or is it going to be everyone's going to stop what they're doing and watch the
Everybody's going to
screen?
stop and watch
What is the slideshow for?
Taiwan.
Taiwan.
What does that mean? It's
That
Taiwan.
means that
Restricting time.
His
And
trip.
how he impacted that he met with.
Oh, the trip to Taiwan.
Oh, I thought
It's pictures of his trip to Taiwan and the people.
Oh.
I'm assuming they put it together with music and background.
你有没有拿到票了？拿到票
第一个就来了，我来很早，我这就是开完会我就跑到这里了。
Just want to send their wishes and happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Nice. Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. My name's David.
David.
Nice to meet you. Do you want to say happy birthday? Not to me.
It would be kind of funny if it was your birthday as well.
Would you like to wish me happy birthday? No.
Whose birthday? What?
I don't know. It's just anyone's birthday.
This is bad. There's the happy.
There he
There's the
is.
birthday boy. I try to find her. I really try to find her. Okay, I will walk around. Okay, I will walk around.
I've never really been anywhere else. Yeah, all over my family. My husband. Being here the whole happy birthday. Happy birthday.
So now you met.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just ignore me. I don't. It's not even on. Don't worry about
You make her. You can't fool her.
it. No, I can't. No.
Do you want to have breakfast? In the
I just want to know what you're here for today.
Dr. Wong's birthday.
Oh, awesome. Who's Dr. Wong for you? Is he a relative of yours?
He's like a professor of my mom's.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Oh, very cool. Do you want to wish him a happy birthday into the camera? Just say happy birthday and look into here.
Happy birthday.
You too? Say happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Do you guys want to say happy birthday? Or?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
May I sit with you, May? But you were not born in the month of May. You were saying that you're a friend of Paula's? Yes. And that you said you work in a... Oh, in a bank. Okay. Well, listen, when you figure it out... That's usually where it happens, because we all have that angst of being human and trying to figure out what it's all about every single day. So at least some of us are smart enough to do research and work. Others may not want to think about it. So this is minor. Left. This is not.
I'm sorry, I was trying to
This one I definitely set aside for us. That's it's for the meetup we have another one more.
I'm flexible. don't screw up. Don't know.
I'll tell you what. How many tables have empty seats? Would you put? Okay. Would you just kind of fill in those chairs and meet new friends? All right. are more or less settled. We'd like to welcome you all to our last session of our Biennial conference. And we would like to ask the Reverend Dr. Paul Wong to say grace. Well, you know what? When we were teaching at Tyndale, we had Dr. Paul Wong and Lillian Wang, and also Dr. Paul Wong and Lillian Wong. And you wouldn't believe this, except that Lillian spells with double L, and mine is only one L. So that's a difference. And so they got our mails, and we got their parcels. Here's Dr. Wong. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a privilege to come here to join the celebration of the 75th birthday of Dr. Paul Wong. In fact, by the way, Lillian, I still got his phone call last week in my office. But it's okay. Before we say grace, I'd just like to share a Bible verse to bless Dr. Paul Wong. And this Bible verse is found in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 18. It says, "The path of the righteous is like the first gleam of dawn, shining ever brighter till the full light of day." So, Dr. Paul Wong, happy birthday. Let's pray. How about let's all stand and say grace together. Our Father, we acknowledge that every good and perfect gift is from above, who does not change like shifting shadow. And so, Father, at this moment, I pray that you grace this 75th birthday celebration of Dr. Wong with your presence. And for the bountiful meals that we are about to receive, we want to give thanks to you and ask that you give us strength to continue to run the race faithfully for you, so that may all those who come behind us find us faithful. In Jesus' most precious name we pray and give thanks. Amen. Thank you. You may be seated.
I'm not saying happy birthday again. There he comes. You make a funny face.
No stress here.
How you doing?
Good.
You almost just got thrown
Say
out
happy
of your
birthday
chair,
to
bro.
my dad.
Oh, happy birthday, Uncle Paul.
One more time. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, happy birthday, Uncle Paul.
Nice. I already got these guys.
Happy birthday, Uncle Paul. Kesslyn, say happy birthday.
Oh, so cute.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Nice.
It's like, oh.
You can just ignore me.
I haven't seen him in a couple weeks.
Whatever way you come up to it, it's right
I was gonna wing it.
Hey.
Thank you.
Oh, this is probably recording.
This is a video.
I caught on now. I caught on. Happy birthday, Dr. Wong, even though you're right behind me. You are a very great man.
Nice.
I used to live in Waterloo, just an area, so I visited all my friends.
What a hoot, that's so funny.
It's hilarious.
Did you tell her that you had a crush for her?
Well, I mean,
Just intellectually, of course.
oh yeah.
It's just an intellectual crush. And that's the way, then you're hard to get. And then you say, you have no idea. I have no idea what an intellectual crush I have, but it's just that. That's me, like, don't go any further.
Mới chỉ phân mà lên mãi. Mua bên đó chứ đi. Mới có thấy là cậu cho à.
Continuing education unit. Paul is going to give you a lecture, so you are not really shortchanged. But on top of that lecture, you're going to have about 18 speakers. And they're going to be the raw data of our experiment. Now, I am sorry, normally we start speaking at dessert time, but now because of the packed program that we have, and we're going to start right now, okay? And I hope you have made some new friends too. All right, and this will be our last session of the 7th Biennial Conference on Personal Meaning 2012. And we have reasons to celebrate. Subjectively, this is a successful conference and the best. 7th is a good number, isn't it? So it's good to have the best. And I'd like to acknowledge the... Do I hear some voices somewhere? Okay. I'd like to acknowledge the contributions of the volunteer team, and I think they are the greatest. I have never had a team that will let me feel so comfortable. I don't have to get down here at 7:30 in the morning, make sure the signs were up and the tables were set. And they said, you just go ahead and do what you need to do. We will handle all of that. Would you please stand up? All the volunteers, please. And we have 2 IT experts managing the machine at the back. And we really want to appreciate how much you have done and how much you have contributed to this conference in organization, in just being hospitable. And I promise you we will have a token of appreciation when we come back for APA next week. So we'll have a party. Now, sitting among us are many world-renowned psychologists, scientists, researchers, and among them we have a distinguished psychologist, researcher, and teacher, Dr. Salvatore Matti. And he was the first recipient of our Life Achievement Award in 2000, along with Irvin Yarwan. And he is about to receive a gold medal for life achievement in psychology in the public interest from APA. For those who don't know what APA is, it's American Psychological Association, and we'll have our convention in Orlando, Florida, and he's going to receive, actually most of the time we have about 14,000 attendees. So he's going to receive the gold medal, and we wanted to congratulate his distinguished and enduring accomplishment in many areas, especially in research and hardiness. And Sal, would you stand up so people who know who you are? Strong supporter of INPM since the beginning. I don't think you missed any conferences, have you, Sal? No, I don't think so either. And we have many, many very good supporters. Thank you. Now, I have a young lady, and she's going to come up and play some music for us. Jessica Lee, she is an executive assistant for us, and she has been very faithful and working really hard. She asked me, when am I going to play? And I said, well, tonight we're going to wing it. We've been so structured for the last 3 days. We just need to release and just be ourselves, and we just flow. Okay, Jessica.
I believe that my playing is worthy of you all, but Dr. Paul asked if I would, and so I will play in his honor. And I've chosen to play one of his favorite pieces, which many of you probably know, the Meditation by Massenet.
Now I'm going to call on Reverend Donald to come and say a few words.
I just got a promotion from Mrs. Wong. I'm just her pastor. Thank you. Dr. Wong, Mrs. Wong, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the alumni of the Chinese Pastoral Counseling classes of the CCS TTS, I will explain what that is, Teen Days Seminary. We would like to congratulate Dr. Wong on his 75th birthday, and would like to express our gratitude to Dr. Wong. He's one of our favorite professors. Dr. Wong, Dr. Wang, they're all good. From Dr. Wong, we learned acronyms like MBTI, MCC. I still remember MCC means Meaning Center Counseling, not Mong Cha Cha in Cantonese, which means as clear as mud. We studied Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. Frankl presented a horrible picture describing the sufferings inside the Nazi death camp during the Second World War. These camps were places of violence, hopelessness, pain, suffering, anxiety. The study of this book under Dr. Wong prepared all us pastors in facing the many challenges while serving in different churches, which I can draw a lot of parallel there. As a matter of fact, I was in Panama visiting a Chinese immigrant who was running a restaurant. And the first time he met me, he was spilling his gut about his pain, all the difficulty of life in Panama, his irresponsible wife, his rebellious children. At that time, I really appreciate Dr. Wong's teaching about listening with empathy. I just keep quiet. So all along, my mind was running through Dr. Wong's note on DPDC while trying to help this person in need. D for description, P for plan, D for dialogue, C for conclusion. I didn't say anything at all, except a few words of prayer at the end for him. And I'm proud to report that at the end of the conversation, he gave me 2 large pizzas from his pizza restaurant to take back to the hotel. So I must be doing good. I must be doing fine. I always felt that Dr. Wong was like a father to me, and this feeling was echoed by many of the other students from the seminary. One of the students present today, Grace. Can you raise up your hand? Yeah. He mentioned that we always had classes at Dr. Wong's home, and Mrs. Wong would always provide coffee, tea, and delicious desserts to us, like Daddy and Mom. And at the end of each class, we found that we were like children attaching to our parents. We wouldn't want to go. We don't want to leave the house until all the desserts are gone. So we love Dr. Wong and Mrs. Wong and the dessert, of course. To express our fans, Howard would like to play a congratulating music piece for Dr. Wong and Mrs. Wong. The name of the piece in Cantonese, I can only spell it in Cantonese, is 讓鞭打馬送糧忙, meaning in English, I guess is busy giving needed supplies with a horse. This is our teacher. Zai Bao is carrying the treasure, is busy giving needed supplies in our mission field. So our behalf of the alumni of CCSTPS, I would like to present Dr. Wong with a small gift. May I have Dr. Wong come up here?
We really have a multicultural talent group. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Maddie to come and share a few words.
I'd like to say a few words about my relationship with Paul Wong. It's a wonderful time. Happy birthday, Paul. Paul sought me out. Can you hear this at all? Can you hear? Paul sought me out years ago on the basis of the similarity between our approaches in psychology. It was the beginning for what he did was he had begun the INPM organization, and I immediately found myself getting involved in it. And very quickly, he and I became intimate friends because we had so much in common. Paul has been pushing conceptually and in research. It's not ordinary optimism, it's disruptive optimism. Oh, tragic optimism, I'm sorry, yeah, tragic optimism. I couldn't hear you very well. And he's been talking about that in his papers and doing research on it all along. Now, I'm involved in that too, but he's actually been a big influence on me. And he was doing this at a time when this particular approach, let's call it existential psychology, was not very popular at all in psychology. In fact, quite the contrary. It was considered stupid. Now, of course, things are changing, and they're changing in large measure because of Paul's emphasis, both in his own work and in his founding this organization. Let's hope this organization never stops. And let's hope that even though this is Paul's 75th birthday, he never stops either. Take care, Paul.
I like the way that Paul and I met, because our friendship is not a buddy story made for TV or made for the movies. It starts from violent disagreements on listservs, violent disagreements by email, violent disagreements in person, and I suspect that if Paul and I were of the same age, we would have had violent, argumentative wrestling matches on the floor where one of us would have been in submission, asphyxiated on the ground, if that was possible. And I think for people with thin skin, there never would have been a relationship that developed. But for Paul and I, both of us, I think, over the course of our lives, our own personal histories, we both have thick skin. And so what started from that of us just disagreeing led to an evolution of ideas for both of us. And I had this great respect for Paul that's developed over 5-6 years that we've known each other. Here's what I love about Paul. Paul has a narrative of being an outsider. Being Asian American, being on the fringe in terms of his ideas. So there's some things you can control, some things you can't control, and it's a story you still hold pretty tightly. But I saw something different when we were in Sydney, Australia together that was very different from the outsider story. And most of you were not there with us in Sydney, Australia. And what you saw was a ballroom filled to the hilt. 500, 600 people listening, Paul up on the front stage, William there as always by his side, in front row, second seat, as always, who I love. And the room, so I should probably take a step back for a second. Scientific conference. Very stoic, very quiet, very appropriate. Everyone's talking about their ideas, and everyone just nodding their head at the appropriate times. And then Paul walks up with this big grin, as he always has, for all I've ever known him for. Playful, goofy, weird, wacky, interesting, provocative, really have no idea what he's going to say. And this is kind of one of the reasons why he fills up a ballroom in this case. I have no idea what he's going to say. He probably has no idea what he's going to say in front of a full 500 people. And everyone is just, what I watched, I actually have video footage from this. I didn't take pictures of Paul. Didn't take pictures of Lillian, because Lillian's always the lovely wife by his side. What I took pictures of was the audience. And what you saw at this scientific conference, very appropriate, very proper, everyone's in suits, nobody's dressed like me, is a bunch of people smiling ear to ear for an entire 60 minutes as Paul's talking. I have no idea what Paul talked about. I suspect half the audience didn't know either. But the thing was that everybody was so contagiously, infectiously excited by the fact of Paul's presence in the front of the room. And this moment of seeing him in Sydney, Australia, with 500 people that all speak English, but probably not too exposed to Paul's work, the infectious excitement that he induces in the crowd encapsulates to me how I always envision Paul, and I think why he has so many friends, why this ballroom could probably be filled 10 times over if you were to bring all your friends and colleagues over the course of your lifetime, is that he brings joy to a room. He's a very serious scientist. He's a very serious scholar. I've heard about his 2 sons for years now. Finally, I've met them for the first time. He's so proud as a father. And all of these things, as a young guy who's kind of just recently entered the field, young kids, I've got a 2-week-old child. Paul is someone that I actually look as a role model and I look to emulate in my life. Is someone who takes his work seriously, but doesn't take himself seriously at all. Who takes his family seriously, but doesn't take how you perceive him as all. So all the disagreements we've had, all the discussions, he has thick skin. And what I would say is that his narrative of being an outsider, and I'll let him hold on to it, because I don't want to change his story. I don't want him to have to create new chapters and a new subtitle for his autobiography, is wrong. And I think Paul is an insider. And because the thing is that people want to be around him, people want to hug him, people want to collaborate with him, people want to hear his words of wisdom. And so because of that, you're always going to be an insider. Because of that, because of his ideas, just recently I wrote an article on curiosity, and I was looking for the literature to contribute. And what I've randomly come upon, 1974 paper by Paul Wong on frustration-induced exploration that probably nobody has thought of for 15 years. But that's Paul, is that he basically has studied a little Asian American William James who just randomly appears all over the literature, all over the place, and he's going to remain the person that I sort of want to be. Remain playful, love your work, love your family, make an impact, be a good human being. Have a good day.
I have no idea how many people would love on Twitch or Wong, what I do. Thank God that you all love. So I'm thankful for that. And some of the conflict I can see, I really worry about my health or my mental state. They say, oh, what do you mean your last lecture? Well, I said, 75 years old, a cancer survivor, you never know when you got that. Honestly, right? So that's why, some universities, they even have a series called the last lecture series. Yeah. So that's why my last lecture. And also, this might be the last mini conference I run. So that's why it's called my last lecture. More importantly, I can Chinese saying, when dying men speak, people listen. So you better listen to me. Because you know why? Because you have 60 seconds to live or 1 day to live. The message you share with your family has to be something important. Right? So today I'm going to share with you 7 lessons I have learned in my life. Yeah, 7 sounds good, right? This is my 7th conference. And this is the 7th number. Okay? So, next slide. I don't know how to use damn thing. Anybody help me? You can have a good life, no matter how bad the situation. And that's a very important lesson. That's why I've been fighting with American positive psychology. They all talk about positive psychology is for times of prosperity and peace. And when situations are normal or good, I say the opposite. I say, you can have a good life, no matter how bad your circumstances. Okay? You know why? Because every negative can become a positive, and every adversity can become opportunity. So I'll tell you my life story to put that point. Okay? Now, this morning we listened to Chris Peterson. Positive psychology is mainly about positive things. Positive psychology 2.0 is about the bad potential, the dark side of good things, and the bright side of bad things. Right? Bad can be good, good can be bad. Like Chinese yin yang symbol. So your rotten experience can be a source of blessing, and I will fulfill with my own life. Yeah. Now, you ask my wife, I always say I was born under the wrong star. I was a lucky man. My 2 sons are lucky people because they're born into a warm, secure home. I was a lucky man. But at the same time, I'm also the luckiest bad luck guy. Because when I fell and to the bottom, I thought it was cancer. Sorry for that. Now, I'm sorry for that. Okay, let me give you the proof that I'm a man of bad luck. My birth caused Japanese invasion. 19 massacre, Japanese war. I had the most aggressive cancer that killed 80% of people who got that. So I'm still standing. Okay? I got kicked off from church. Now, how many people got kicked off from church? I started a new church. And Summerlin is the beautiful Summerlin. Somewhere my brother, yeah, he built church for me. And I kicked out by my wife's parents. You built church as qualified to marry a daughter. I got kicked out. How many people kick off my future parent-in-law? Right? But she still married me. Thank God for that. So, I have experienced more rejection, more bad luck than most people. Yeah. Number two, faith can move mountains. William James, believe that life is worth living, and your belief will help create the fact. Now, everything about psychology began with William James. I can keep the Asian William James from trying to. But scientific research has demonstrated that talk about the spirituality and science, the more and more evidence show that the power of faith is more than a placebo effect. Now, if you're a believer, you can experience that God can do amazing things in your life. Okay? So have faith in God, everything changes. So the best decision in my life is to become Christian. Okay? Now, I know some of you may be offended, so be it. Okay? But that's my belief, and you have your story. Now, while I was in Australia, I was in Melbourne, University of Melbourne, and gave a talk to educators. I told them my spiritual journey, and after my talk, and one very well-dressed gentleman, oh, thank you so much. You dare to mention Jesus in a scientific meeting. I do it all the time. Okay? That's why I am. I'm a Christian first, psychologist second. Okay? Now, another thing is that I can't tell you all the bad things that happened to me. There's so many bad things. But looking back, someone out there looking out for me. Man or woman, man evil, but God, man good. All plan evil turn to good. That's my life story. Not only outsider, but I'm almost like the Old Testament Joseph. Every bad thing I gone through, actually for my good. Eh? And also, God not only engineer circumstances, but you experience the blessing. Those American psychologists never understand. Blessing are those who mourn. They talk about happiness, you do happiness enhancing activity. I think when you're happy, you mourn with those who grieve. You cry with those who cry. I remember Mother Teresa, she asked her, what is your happiest moment? Guess what? What's the answer? My happiest moment is to hold a dying man and help him to die in peace. Okay. The third lesson I have learned is that your ability to manage meaning is the most powerful tool of survival. And also with this conference, I got so frustrated, so pissed off, people don't understand, don't get it. You talk about meaning making and this and that. The meaning management, your ability to manage meaning is your ability to manage both negative meaning, positive meaning, and their interaction, so that you have to navigate through troubled water to achieve life goal. So this book I have, in the second edition, a lot of evidence and my theory. I talk about how we manage both positive emotion, negative emotion, positive thought, negative thought. Manage them in a way that they serve your ideal, your pursuit. Now, most important, this is Leishi, right? Do I have Leishi here? Oh, I have a Leishi package. See? Leishi. That is for my brother. Where's my brother? Oscar. Where? Oh, Oscar. Those who are asleep. Thank you for Leishi. Lucky money. I don't know how I'm inside, but be good. And now, I emphasize meaning because I mentioned the capacity for making money, managing money, because meaning is a double blessing. You know why? Your capacity to make money, meaning, is your best protection against bad events, internal and external. There are a lot of research showing that meaning related to grief, recovery from grieving, meaning related to health, mental health, physical health. So it's the best protection. The second blessing is that your capacity to make meaning is also is the most promising pathway to healing, to resilience, and to flourishing. And we talked about it for 4 days. There's lots of evidence about that, right? So if you know how to harness the power of meaning making, you have double blessing. Okay. Now, last few days, I have a lot of interviews from TV stations, newspaper, radio talk shows. They say, how do I make sense with tragic events like Colorado mass shooting, or someone who has lost the whole family, or someone who has been abused? How do you help people to make sense of the horror? I don't know how American psychologists will do. They may tell them, oh, you do exercise to make you happy. Oh, develop a character strength can make you feel good. I don't think any of that would work. All they need is something that Franco offers, something I offer. I say, look, lady, no matter how horrible life is worth living, there is intrinsic value in life. Love transformable with magic, that's magic. I'm suggesting that your ability to make money, to transform negative events in the past one, is only limited by your faith, and only limited by your imagination. Okay? That nothing cannot be transformed in positive. The Bible says so, psychology research says so, and I say so. That's community. Now, meaning also important for you to develop, discover a meaning purpose in your life. And research has made very clear that if your life has no direction, no purpose, you just don't have the passion, don't have energy to move forward. Right? But the question is, I'm scared. Oh, can I go back one step? How to go back? Oh, I'm so. Thank you, my sweetheart. Oh, thank you. You're so smart. I'm a big tease, okay? It's dangerous around me, you know. You never know where it's going. I'm a dangerous man, remember that. So my fellow therapist, please don't mention my name. Don't embarrass me, I'm very shy. So I mention your name now, okay? So this whole thing is that you have purpose, but what purpose? It's the quality of choice. Is a choice praiseworthy? Is a choice commendable? Does a choice have a positive value in life? Right? So I developed a meaning mindset orientation. Now, next time, see, most people are concerned about failure of success. I'm telling you, if your basic orientation is success, you'll be sorry. Even if you succeed, you'll experience disillusion. You'll be still unfulfilled because the human desire, human greed can never be satisfied. And also, one person succeed, 100,000 people fail on roadside. So if that is, I see many clients who are depressed, they are happy because they pursue success. Now, the vertical line invented by Dr. Frankel, who had a lot of friends from logotherapy here, right? They said, if you're able to switch from success, failure dimension to meaning, fulfillment dimension, your life is much better, even when you fail. See? That's why I want to help my clients say, don't worry about people laugh at you, people marginalize you, you fail. The important thing is that you do something that matters to you. Right? Now, I also developed the deep why hypothesis. Now, who is the woman who developed Bill and Wong and Bill? What's her name? Huh? The American famous woman. Barbara. Bradley and is it Bill and what's the theory? Wong and Bill. So she became very famous because her theory is that you're happy, you're able to broaden your scope and build relationship. So one day I interviewed her, I said, Barb, your story was half a story. The real deal is deep and wide. The negative emotion, adversity, is more powerful than positive emotion. Negative emotion deepen your resources, deepen your faith, toughen your character. You know, it has a deepening effect. And also, why means increase your exploration, increase your creativity. Now, do you know the famous saying is that, what's that? Is that adversity is the father of strength, carry strength. And your need, your necessity is the mother of invention. Right? I mean, look, you know about Chinese history? I mean, many refugees, there are among refugees when Hong Kong, before coming government came. So many refugees went to Hong Kong, no job, no nothing, but through poverty, their ingenuity, their entrepreneurship developed. Many of the poor refugees become billionaires. And even now, see, every time when China is going through an economic downturn, the government is smart, the government losing the control. Depend on people to rise up, to create wealth, to create jobs. So I'm thinking that I'm a researcher, I can't get in all the research experiment finding to you. But if you pursue people of that, expose them to adversity in a gradual level, they are doing amazing things. I'm able to teach rats how to count. I'm able to teach rats to be creative. I mean, I have an article in neuroscience that when you teach rats to learn complex tasks, their brain functions differently. And their REM sleep 10 times more than rats that learn a simple task. So adversity makes your brain more powerful, makes your learning capacity more powerful. So every step in your life will shape you into the person you are. Okay? Now, here's the point. I've demonstrated that everybody has a breaking point. Everybody, just like happiness, everybody has a set point of happiness. Similarly, everybody has a breaking point. Based on your experience, your genetic makeup, What breaking point? You see, for him, I train rats to press the bar 1 for pallet. That equals to 10. They press 10 times the pallet. That's the breaking point for a rat. Some rat is able to press 150 times for one lousy pallet. Now those rats are special. They have very high tolerance of frustration. So we should be able to train our children to have high tolerance of frustration and a high breaking point. Okay? Now, I'm saying the key to resilience is meaning. Okay? If you find meaning in suffering, if you have something worth fighting for, worth dying for, you're able to tolerate a lot. And then 5, you have to be willing to be a fool for your ideals. Fools, yes, but something really matters. 1 Corinthians chapter 4. I can read the full chapter for you. Go read it out. Okay? You can find the chapter, come see me, or the pastor Dr. Wong. Now here's the thing. I make a fool of myself all the time. Even now I make a fool of myself. If you're not willing to make a fool of yourself, that means you're not willing to sacrifice anything for something of value. Okay? Now here is my favorite character, Don Quixote. Do you know this book? I don't put it out seriously. After the latest survey, this is the most popular novel in all history. Don Quixote. Now you wonder, why this stupid story is so popular? Because it resonates people. I mean, this guy tilting against the windmill, he holds a job, right? But he's still a little donkey with friends pursuing ideal. That's what inspires us. This is life all about. You fight against injustice, you fight against poverty, you fight against diseases, cancer. Right? Sometimes it looks like an impossible task, but you really believe in that. You continue to fight that. Now here's another fool. Anybody know the story? The old fool tried to move the mountain. Now, if you look into China, you know, transportation from one village to another village, often you have to go through a very dangerous path to go to our city. So this old man said, "Now, I want to move the mountains so that my children can from my village to the city without losing their life, climbing through the mountain, going to narrow path, so the shuffle, snow, with rock, what do you call that? Pack of whatever tool it was. No, poor old man. People laugh at him. I said, what did I do? I want to move the mountain. You silly old man. You think a little old man like you can move the mountain? I said, oh, I have 2 children, awesome, wealthy. They can help the old man come. But they are their children who care. So we keep on doing it. Eventually we'll move the mountain. So that story is famous in China. Because not the collective power, but the commitment, the determination to do something good for the village. Now here's my hero, Hudson Taylor. He's crazy. Look at him. Doesn't look like Chinese, doesn't look like a Westerner. It's crazy. But Tyndale has a center in his name, Hudson Taylor. You know why I admire him? At a time when China is full of danger for Westerners, Boxer uprising, right? So they kill missionaries. But this guy is willing to go to the most remote area of China to preach the gospel because they love Chinese people. So he's a fool for Christ's sake. Now, lesson 6. Meaningful living is costly but worthwhile. On my Facebook Meaningful Living project, I have this. Don't ask if it's going to be easy, ask if it's going to be worth it. Now, in America, called the Happiness Project. How to be happy? Happiness is easy self. Everyone's happy, right? But you challenge people to live in a meaningful life. That's more difficult because it costs you, right? Now the secret of meaningful living is to give your life away. Now, I don't think the American friends got this. Got to that. What is called? Speak out. But anyway, American psychologists talk about, to become meaning, you put something bigger than yourself. You have to be happy. The whole thing is that if you really put something bigger than yourself, you're not concerned for happiness, you have to give yourself away. You know, I run meaningful living group, I open my home. I never expect anything in return. I'm not doing it for my happiness. I thought I should spread the message. But happiness comes from the left back door. And look all the, can you stand up, all the meaningful living group people? Come on, stand up. All these beautiful people, where are they? Come on. This is just a small part. I have 20 people in the meaningful living group. You know, I see the life change. What is that? I think it's Dan. Dan shit. Shit again. Dan. He first came in, he sit in the corner, he's so shy, he looks sad. Look, he flourish. Here's an example of what meaning can do to you. It's Bible study group, I'm telling you. The Bible will have more, right? Now, also, when I say something big and be happy, but there isn't anything bigger than serving God, people. You can't think about anything bigger. Okay, meaningful living group. Number 7. You need a mission that's worth living, worth dying for. My mission is serving God, serving others with psychology. What's yours? Conclusion, okay? My life, my journey is not one of searching for success, happiness, but the quest for meaning and spirituality. My life story can sum up as a story of redemption. Okay? And my friend Nelson Mandela, you'll never realize your impossible dream. You never realize that your impossible dream until you're willing to sacrifice everything to achieve. So if you got a dream, you're not willing to pay the price, you'll never achieve it. Yeah. So my last image, speak for itself. My last legacy is to leave a good memory to my friends and family. I hope the memory of this event will stay with you for a long time. Thank you.
Paul, for giving us such inspirational messages. As Uncle Paul's niece, I am privileged to bear witness to a side of Uncle Paul that might not be known to everyone here. So I would like to borrow a few minutes of your time to share with you something about Uncle Paul in terms of pure. P-U-R-E. P actually stands for pillar because Uncle Paul is a pillar of his family. As Uncle Paul has mentioned, during the war, when Uncle Paul was an older teenager, his family of 7 brothers and 1 sister escaped from Tianjin, a city close to Shanghai, to Hong Kong. The family station was actually drastically reduced from a lifestyle of comfort and affluence with chauffeurs, chefs, nannies, summer cottages, and country club to a lifestyle of the have-nots, with a rented 3-bedroom apartment in Hong Kong. Uncle Paul was an important pillar in the family, keeping his 4 younger siblings in line, supporting Grandma emotionally through 10 years of marital crisis, and working to alleviate the financial burden of the family. When I was 5, my father, who's Uncle Paul's second older brother, sent his family to temporarily live with his family in Hong Kong while he was working in Taiwan. My mother will always remember Uncle Paul as the one who supported her as a newcomer to the family. She said, "Your Uncle Paul was always very kind to us. He loved children. It was Uncle Paul who brought your youngest brother home from the hospital after he was born. Whenever Uncle Paul returned from work, he would babysit you and your brothers, wash the baby's diaper by hand. This is so that I can take a bath or do chores I would normally not able to. So, Uncle Paul, my mom wants me to express her gratitude to you here and wish you a happy birthday. U stands for unique, stands for my unique uncle. He is our only black uncle. That's right, black uncle. In Uncle Paul's family, his siblings call him Big Black Oily, 大黑勇. And the adults in the family called him Little Five, which is 小五. Smack dab in the middle of his birth order, Little Five was born darker in complexion compared to the rest of his siblings. So as young kids, we did not know how to say big black oily uncle, 大黑勇叔叔. So we resorted to calling him black uncle, 黑叔叔. Black uncle's unique charm is actually transgenerational. My 3 kids, technically his grand-nephews and nieces, love him. I say technically because my children do not feel that black uncle belong in the grannies category. So they hijack my black uncle to be their black uncle. My 16-year-old daughter will speak with glee whenever she sees my black uncle. "Oh, Mommy, Uncle Paul is so cute. He is like a teddy bear. He is so nice." Oh, Uncle Paul. Now, I'm going to leave our audience resilience, and I'm going to skip that. And I'm going to, because we all know how resilient you are, Uncle Paul, and I'm going to move straight to E. And E stands for Emmanuel, Christ. Uncle Paul loves Christ. And during Uncle Paul's stay in Vancouver, he spoke to us with joy about the Bible studies he led with his church. What I appreciated the most was the 2 to 3 years when Uncle Paul and Auntie Lillian brought Wesley and Austin to our house to celebrate Christmas. I wanted the harmony I witnessed in
And thank you. And from Tyndale, could we see people from Tyndale University College and Seminary? Thank you. Thanks for coming. And what else? Okay, we have a DVD from Taiwan, and they just sent it to us, and I think we're going to play that. And say, "May I work with your child?"
I've just got some slides, so as I speak, there's pictures of
as I speak, there's going to be pictures of Dad through the years. That's Grandma, yeah. So my first name is actually Paul. So I actually share the same name as my dad. And I was named after him, and my middle name is Austin, which was, as my mom said, because I was born in Austin, Texas. So why am I now identified as Austin instead of Paul, which is my actual first name? So I'm told by my mom that the day they brought me home from the hospital, she came over to me and was talking to me in the crib and was saying something like, Paul, you're such a cutie pie. And my dad apparently sort of popped up and said, yes. And then she said, actually, I was speaking to me. So from that day on, they decided it was too confusing to have two Pauls in the house. So I was called Austin from that point on. So it's appropriate, though, because there really is and can only be one Paul Wong. And he's an impossible act to follow. So everyone here knows he has all these huge accomplishments, how he obtained his Ph.D. in record time at U of T, all of his published works, how he's a leader in the field of logotherapy, how he still flies around to speak. But I'm just going to talk about my experience as his son. I've always been very proud to be his son. When I meet people that he knows in events like this, or church, or some of the universities he's been at, I always see people's faces light up a lot when I tell them that I'm his son. Like, they'll meet me and then they'll say, I'm the son of Professor Wong, or I'm the son of Paul Wong, and they're like, oh, hi, it's nice to meet you. And it's always immediately followed up with a variation of, I love your dad. I just love your dad. He's so cute. Like, they all love him. So it's always been obvious to me when I meet these people that he's always had such a great positive effect on so many people. And this group of people is a constantly evolving and growing group of people because my dad cannot stop reaching out and helping as many people as he can all the time. As you can see from all of the people that have gathered here today, he's touched people throughout his life in all different areas. As a teacher, as a pastor, as a professor, as a counselor, and as a friend. And for me, the role is also as my dad. So he was a fun dad growing up. He always liked to laugh. He always liked to tell stories when we were kids. He would regale us with stories he made up out of his head, like bouncy and stretchy and like really funny, weird little characters, and we couldn't get enough. And it was great. He would talk about them forever, and whenever we wanted a story, he would make it up. He also, as he actually mentioned earlier today, he loves embarrassing us. He loved embarrassing both of his kids constantly. One of the things that would happen pretty much through my whole life, that whenever we'd be in restaurants, he would always ask the waitress if she wanted to date me. And it would always be like, whether I was 14, 15, however old the waitress is pushing 30, he'd try to pimp me out to the waitress and she'd decline and he'd laugh. He thought it was hilarious and he always thought it was funny and he would laugh until we ended up laughing too. This kind of joking continued through my whole life pretty much. And a couple of years ago, he was invited to preach at the church we attend in Toronto as a guest pastor or whatever. And when he got up there, he wanted to acknowledge myself and my mom, who were in the congregation, as he always likes to acknowledge us whenever we come to see him speak at whatever event. So when he asked me to stand so the entire congregation could greet me, and so I stood, so everybody kind of looked, and I was just like, my dad is always be concerned about what I was wearing, and my mom was a bit of a clothes horse, so the two of us were always more concerned about our appearance, and my dad he doesn't care about what he wears. He's very unconcerned about how he dresses, because it's all about his mind and meeting people and everything like that. But we always wanted to make sure we didn't feel embarrassed when we walked out of the house and tried to get him clothes. But the thing is, like, he doesn't use any of the clothes I would buy him, and ironically now, almost all the clothes he wears are my old clothes. So they're clothes I've approved just 20 years later. And I used to get him gifts that I thought would make him more stylish, but the other day I was in their house and they were showing me where the safe was in case something happened when they were on a trip, and I noticed there's a whole pile of little Prada wallets and all these little designer things that I'd given them that have never been used, and they're just stockpiling there. I'm sure they're cherished. So it's just, it wasn't him. But anytime he goes out in public, it's really up to my mom. Like, it's a testament to my mom of how he looks, because she really puts him together, but it is a testament to my dad as well, that he pulls off the look so well. Like, he makes 80s and scarves and hats really work. And like, if you see some of these pictures, he loves hats. So it's one of his sort of style points that I don't know if you get if you just see him in lectures, but in life, he's always wearing a hat. He is known for his research and for being a psychologist and an academic. But he's also incredibly creative. His mind never really stops working. He's constantly trying to get everything down. Whenever we go out for lunch, or if we would go shopping and he would sit there waiting for us holding the bags, or wherever we would go, he always has a pad of paper and a pen with him at all times. And whenever we're sitting down, he's always scribbling. And I would ask him, what are you writing? Like, why are you writing all the time? And he would just say, a writer must write. A writer writes. A writer must write. Like, he said this to me all my life. And it actually is a bit of a lesson, because like my whole life as well. So all through life, whenever we had something that we were in, I'll say, oh, I'd like to do a movie about China, since it's such a hot topic right now. I mean, it applies to everything in his life that means something to him, that matters to him. When I was young, of course, he always was working, and I would hear him talk about grants and publishing and lectures, and he was always busy with professors' stuff and doing all of these academic things. But as you've heard from these other people and all the people that are here, that was only half of his life. He also devoted his life to just reaching out to communities that he felt were underserved, or people that he wanted to touch. So when we were in Peterborough, he started a Chinese church in the afternoon. It was a service in the church that we attended in the morning, and it grew, and to this day it exists, and there's people from it today, even now, and it's lasted for decades. And on Friday nights, he would open up his home for foreign students that had come to Trent in Peterborough, and they felt maybe lost, so he opened his home so that they would have community, and that group got more and more popular, and we started getting Canadians and people that were local coming on Friday nights, and it grew and flourished into this huge group that continued forever, and so many marriages came out of that group, and families, and strengthened, and to this day we still get letters and emails, and all over the world, like where we go, like I just went to China, and they called me, and just friends of my dad that became friends of mine, and they were taking me up to. It's amazing to me. Like, he has an idea, he wants to do it. They were counting on people that came through the website, whatever. But at first they weren't that well attended, and they were always trying to promote it, and they were getting me to hand out flyers, and all these conferences are single-handedly organized by double-handedly by my dad and my mom, who's a superhero as well. Like, she needs to get that prop too. But they work so tirelessly, and I felt, to what end? Like, does anybody appreciate this? Like they work so hard for months and months and months and months, and I would actually say, you have to stop. Never do this again. This is the last conference. I would get angry every time they said they're going to do it again. I said, you remember how stressed out you were? Like, months of your life gone. Like, and for what? And I hadn't actually gone to a conference. I just saw how long it took them to do it. But I realized that this was terrible advice I was giving them. It was terrible advice. Like, they were doing it because they loved to do it. They found meaning in it. They enjoyed doing it. And it gave them pleasure. It gave them meaning. And it helped so many other people. And, I realized that everything they do, I also told them to stop traveling so much. They traveled to China, they've been to Australia. I kept thinking, you need to rest. But the fact is, the reason they're so spry, the reason they're so sharp, the reason they're so alive is because they do all this stuff. Because they don't just stop living. They don't just reach a milestone and say, well, I'm checking out, and then do nothing. They just keep living because that's the meaning of their life. They want to do what matters to them, and it's keeping them young, it's keeping them alive, and they're busier and more active than any of my friends and anyone, like, even younger than me. Like, I've never seen people so tirelessly efficient, well not efficient, but they're very hardworking. So this is the first conference that I've actually attended, and I've been here because it's another project. My dad wants to do a documentary, so I said I'd help. And a partner here has also helped in the back, who brought a film. And anyway, I had the opportunity to sit in on some of the panels here, and also to some interviews from some of the people that have spoken here. And it really was very eye-opening to me. And on one level, I really sat in on some of these talks. I started realizing, too, I was hearing some similar messages from a lot of different speakers, and just about what is the meaning of life, and what makes a life meaningful. And even though a lot of speakers here had very different views and opposing views, I noticed some common threads. And one of them was, to have a meaningful life, it isn't about happiness, it's about finding something that matters to you. And it's about finding something that gives you purpose and then pursuing it. And then the other thread that I heard is that community matters and relationships matter. And it's not just about, what can I do to make my life meaningful? What can I do? I need to change this, I need to change that. It's about reaching out, and you actually have to make connections. And hearing that this is the philosophy, and this is, I just realized, my dad and my mom have actually been living this way and have embodied what it takes to be meaningful, to have a meaningful life their whole lives. They've identified what gives them meaning, what they find purpose in, and they just pursue it. And they do it, and in doing so, they have built not one, not two, but countless communities, congregations, youth groups, everything. And these communities have thrived. So, just to wrap up, I'm going on longer than I thought. See, I am my dad's son. My dad's life is the embodiment of probably the most meaningful life I could ever imagine. And I am so grateful to have been able to benefit from his example my whole life. And I look forward to striving to emulate his incredible example for the rest of my life. Thank you so much. I love you very much.
I don't know, being a new mom, you don't know how much you can give him to enrich his life. So I brought him to the toy palace and let him sit there and play. So when Wesley came along 5.5 years later, now I know how to handle this child. So I put him down and find toys. He doesn't use toys, he counts fingers. And also sings like a bird, and he doesn't sing at all. And I thought, what am I going to do with him? Anyhow, now here he is, Wesley Philip Wong.
All right, hi everyone. So if I haven't met you, I'm Wesley. You can see I come from a family with a lot of very big personalities, people who really like to get in front and talk. I'm going to keep this very, very quick. So much has been said already. I guess, it's always wonderful, as my brother said, to see all the people whose lives my parents, my dad has touched. It's just, I feel bad sometimes because I live in the States now. In some ways I followed my dad's footsteps. I'm a professor as well, but I often feel sad that I left my parents alone. But I see all of you and I realize that they're not alone, that they have this wonderful extended family, that to many of you, my dad has really been not just an energetic teacher and scholar, not just a committed mentor and friend, but really like a father figure, and that makes me feel very happy. And all my life, my parents have always shown me the importance of kind of having a community, having an extended family. So my dad always said that he was like the least lucky and that we were the most lucky, and I totally think that's true because we had my dad and my mom as my parents. So I just show a few slides. So my dad was not only truly a father figure to me, but even from the start he was really a provider and protector. And here's baby Wesley and Austin looking at what he thinks is his new toy. Really, he literally took me to kindergarten as his new baby brother. He showed me around for show and tell. He was always my confidant, who just talking about philosophy and science, and here we are discussing the meaning of life as we walk in the park. There's baby Wesley. And what do I have next? Yeah, and in many ways, he was just my dad with all of his strengths and all of his weaknesses and idiosyncrasies. And as also said, I've always admired how he's cared for everyone that God has put in his life. Everyone who comes in his path, he really strives to care for, whether they be students in need, whether they be refugees, or just really anyone in need of help. And really our house, we always had like this open house policy. There were always people in and out of the house at all times. Last on Friday nights, it was this giant extended family from really all over the world, and even today people helping out, and people I see here. It's wonderful to see that the family and communities live on. I've always been in awe of my dad's energy and intelligence, and really his focus and his boldness. I mean, he always pursues and accomplishes every new project or seemingly crazy dream that he has, whether it be like launching a whole new community, throwing these big conferences, and we always say like they're so old, but they're so much more energetic than I've ever been, and it's just really inspiring. But mostly, I've always loved him for his complete dedication to us, to his love for us, for always making time for us, even in the midst of all these projects. I mean, lots of things. A lot of the cousins here remember, sometimes to entertain us, Dad would like turn off all the lights in the house and turn it into a haunted house, complete with like its own scary monster, and he'd chase us around. And as Austin said, he was always antagonizing our family. I remember Mom one day coming home so flustered because Dad had been walking along outside and had met someone on the street who was cold and had literally given him the jacket off his back. The jacket that Mom had just bought for him, and so like he literally embodied this kind of giving attitude. And for himself, of course, my dad has his own fashion sense. The jacket that he wanted to wear was a reject from the Salvation Army. It was, do you remember? So in some ways, people always look up to their dads as heroes when they're kids. But I have to say that I feel so lucky that even as I've grown up and as an adult, I still see him as a superhero, as really a role model, not just by his fashion sense, but for his passionateness and his selflessness. And he always says things like he would rather suffer and make the world a better place than to be comfortable or happy. And I feel like he's really strived for that. I hope that as he's talked about, that he has received happiness through the back door, through the meaningfulness of his life. And so when my wife says that I remind her of my dad, whether it be because putting a student's well-being above external progress or success, or when I just can't find the car after we parked, or because I wear some ridiculous outfit that's a hand-me-down from Austin, which is 15 years old and has holes in it and doesn't fit me, I always take it as the most satisfying compliment that I'm trying to walk in his shoes. So my wife unfortunately couldn't be here today, but Dad, she wants to wish you a happy birthday as well, and your future grandchild, baby Wong, also wants to wish you a happy birthday. And I want to say that, I love you, and I'm just so thankful for you as a dad. I'm so proud of you, and so happy with all of us being able to wish you a happy 75th birthday. We love you very much, Dad. Thank you.
And also, we were happy bells. Well, it was a wonderful family. Now I know they're going to ask me, what does Wesley do? What does Austin do? And as well tell you. Austin is he is a director of legal and what else was it? Business and legal affairs for DHX. Is a media. He was working for Rumpus as the vice president of legal and business affairs. He's associate producer of the films. Let's see, 2009, Passchendaele and Blindness. And he's a producer of the film called This Movie is Broken. And he has a few projects also. In a way, that's why he's really busy. And Wesley is assistant professor at Harvard in biophysics, and he also has appointment with the medical school there. And he did a lot of research, and he had quite a few patents by Harvard. Sorry, I have to say that. Otherwise, people keep on asking me the way she was. Well, thank you, Sheridan. All right. I'm sorry we have taken up so much time just because of the Wong's family, because I do want to hear from the rest of you. I'm going to go by random. How's that? Whatever comes to my list, okay? And how about Chris Smithson? And he's from Tyndale University College.
As she said, my name's Chris. I was a student of theirs at Tyndale for a while. As you know, we're gathered here to celebrate Dr. Wong's birthday and his achievements in the field of psychology, which are numerous. But I know him best as my professor, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. During their 3 years at Tyndale, Paul and Lillian helped share and transform the psychology program. As a student, Dr. Wong was more than just our professor. He was our representative. In his own words, Dr. Wong's a wild man. He's a fighter, and he'll stand up for what he believes in, even if he's the only one standing. And sometimes, standing up for what you believe in involves questioning authority and not knowing when to give up, or maybe not knowing how to give up. Through Dr. Wong's strength and persistence, Tyndale's psychology program grew from a bare-bones program to one of prominence. By designing, redesigning, and introducing several new classes and an honors program, the Wongs began teaching the classes that were both engaging and relevant. And as a struggling student, it helped our tuition fees seem a little more reasonable. In fact, both Paul and Lillian were always mindful of the struggles that we had as students, and regularly brought snacks with them to the classes, keep our energy and our attention levels high, and our anxiety levels low. If there was one thing you could count on, it was that the Wongs would make you feel cared for and welcome. Whether that was in the classroom or in their home. It was not uncommon for the Wongs to invite the students to their homes for parties and other special events. Beyond their hospitality, both Dr. Paul and Lillian Wong worked hard to make opportunities for their students. The Wongs took time to listen to their students and were always ready to help you help yourself. Whether that was by hiring students as assistants, providing relevant volunteer placements like this one, or helping find counseling placements for honors practicums. They were always willing to be there and help. One of the most important things I can tell you from knowing Dr. Wong is that he's genuine. He lives what he believes, and he believes in bringing meaning to his life and helping those find their own meaning. It was a privilege to study psychology under his guidance, and what I learned during my schooling, both academic and personally, continues to provide structure for how I live my life today. So, I just want to thank you today for the impact you've made on my life and the rest of the students at Tyndale that studied with me.
Thank you, Chris. All the best to you. And I'm going to call on Dr. Karen Galbraith from the University of Toronto when Paul was a student, and you were classmates.
A different perspective on Paul, because I knew him when he looked like that picture of he and Lillian on the boat. So I knew him when we were in our 20s, and we've only reconnected now, which is 40 years later, a little more than 40 years later. We were at the University of Toronto together. We both had the same thesis supervisor, Abe Ansel. The University of Toronto at that time was a very I remember it as a very cold, competitive, elitist, scary place. It was where the professors fought against each other for eminence. I think they all wanted the Nobel Prize. They would cut each other down. They would, well, of my class of 15, 2 people graduated. And they made us very aware of this. Paul and I were in what was called the Amsel Lab. And it was down in the basement of Sidney Smith Hall. It was hard surfaces, cold desks that faced the wall. Abe Amsel had his office to one side. The few graduate students were in the middle. And then there were another room, tons of rats. Hundreds, I don't know how many rats. And then all the mazes. So we were in experimental psychology. So as practicing clinicians, we're both fakes. And I've always felt like a fake. But in that cold environment, Paul was like the one heater. He was very, now I have to preface this by saying that I've learned that my memory is very bad. And I've learned that because I kept a diary throughout my girlhood and young womanhood. When I was in my 50s, I reread it, and I found how really incorrect a lot of the things I remember were. I thought that I studied and worried all the time, and in fact I did, but I was also a social butterfly. I didn't know that. I couldn't remember that. So what I remember about Paul could be a wrong Wong, but he was always very fast. He was talking very fast, and you never really understood what he was going to do, and then he had the big smile. So then, and sitting around in some of the tables as Paul was speaking, people would say, "Do you know what he's saying? Do you know? Did you understand that word?" No. And then he'd smile, and everybody'd smile, and everything would be okay. And then people went home and went, yeah, good. You know, and that very cold, competitive, ruthless environment, livable and survivable. He was, well, I remember that when he would always challenge things, and this has been brought up many times before, but when I had to defend my thesis as a 25-year-old woman with 16 men sitting around, and I was scared to death because the person who had gone before me had failed. And the first question I was asked was, what is the nature of reality? And I froze. I just froze. It was the only time that Abe Amsel ever came to my defense. And he stood up and he argued with the person who had asked that question. And, well, needless to say, I went on. Even though I wrote Skinner on the board with 3 or 4 N's, I just kept going. I did manage to pass. And when I came out, I was very frightened and shaking, and I told Paul about this question that they'd asked. And he just looked at me and he said, "Stupid question. Don't answer. Just stupid." And there is a myth about Paul. I don't know if it's true. It's what I believe about Paul. It's what the other students that were there, unfortunately many who have passed away. But the story goes like this, that this strange, fast-moving, fast-talking, gibberish, warmth, did a BA in 2 years, a master's degree in 1 year, a doctoral degree in 2 years, using Amsel's theory as it applied to Chinese brainwashing. And the only thing he hadn't completed was his residency. You had to, at U of T, you had to stay a certain number of years. So, as I understood it, he became the slave to Abe, and Abe took him to America. And I hadn't seen him until 2010. And when I saw him, he didn't look like a slide anymore. He's sort of listing to the right, which I don't know if that is your political leaning. Did you vote for Harvard? But he's still Paul. He's still the warm. He's still, as soon as a smile lights up, he's there. And it's as if no time had passed at all. So I want to wish you a very happy birthday, Paul. And I'm so glad to have you back in my life, and I'm in love with your sons. So you are going to be seeing more of us. Thank you.
I think she's got to make some of the factual accuracy. Actually, I finished all my Ph.D. work in 1 year. I beat Martin Silverman on that. In 1 year, and I have 6 in a year, working in Texas, 2 years. But I think 1 year is impossible. Nobody can do that. I think I just did it. But they won't get my degree until I 6 in a year. That's how 2 years.
You see, he has to be very precise. Gerson, where are you?
I'm just going to keep it short. I'm kind of tired. I'm running on 4 hours of sleep. I just came from Muskoka, from a church camp. And I just want to wish you Dr. Wong. Dr. Wong, happy birthday. Party on. This guy's a party animal university. All these groups, it's party. But I just want to share an anecdote. On my second year in Tyndale, I was faced with a very tragic event in my life. I lost one of my best friends. He had a heart attack on 27th, and he should be around 32 now. And that led to a bit of depression. I went from an A student to academic probation in Tyndale. And the Wongs came in, and they've just been a huge part of my life. And, as a testament that, tragic optimism, the peer model, I see it not just in theory, but how you apply it to your life. once it becomes just a concept, and then once you start applying it in your life, it becomes more meaningful and relatable. And I just want to congratulate you guys again on a wonderful conference. I was part of the volunteer organizing group for the last conference, and these guys really worked hard. They've been planning this year. Like it's like months, like 5 or 6 months. They've already started writing down their draft and everything. And I just want to encourage Dr. Wong to continue. Your life has been very touching to my life as well. I'm now just got recently accepted into a master's program. I'm doing my MBA at the University of Liverpool. I'll be graduating next year, Dr. Paul Wong. I hope to see you London. I'm hoping to also do. I'll be doing my MBA in leadership and organizational psychology, and I hope to incorporate some of your work in my studies. As you know, business is it's not one of the most meaningful, especially all the scandals, Enron, and just the financial crisis 2008. So there's a paradigm shift that's going from just sheer profitability for firms, or do we find a deeper meaning of what drives firms? And there's just great research in regards to that. So I just want to wish you guys all the best. Dr. Wong, finally glad to see your sons who've been talking about them in detail. So we love you guys. God bless. Party on.
Thank you, Gerson. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
I just want to say on behalf of the Chinese Christian Fellowship, Paul has shown us so much when we were at Peterborough. For me, I came from a refugee camp, and for me to be in Peterborough and get the Wong, Mrs. Wong and Paul to invite me from my family and to come to his house and to his church, was something that is totally unexpected. And because of his generosity and his kindness, he kind of gave me so much for the last probably 20 years of my life. Just because of his generosity, he just keep inviting people to come to his house, and just for that I learned so much. Just being, it's hard to say it, being who I am, and I don't really speak up here, so I usually sit in the back. So I would say thank you so much, Paul, for helping me to learn and go through school and having a life that's a new place for me compared to where I came from. And I just want to say thank you for all you guys' generosity and helping all the new immigrants to come to learn the new stuff and in this country. So thank you, Paul.
You know what? I'm feeling really embarrassed because it's almost like we are giving to others, helping others. You know, we're not really giving to anybody because you give us a whole lot. We learn from you. Being human beings, you know, we meet each other. We actually share life. And we benefited from all of you who have, you know, that we have a privilege of serving and sharing and working together. I want to thank all of you for your part in our lives, and it built our life the way we enjoy, and we want to thank God for that. Now, I'd like to call on Ed Peacock. We still have Nick White. Is Nick White here? Oh yeah, good. So, yeah. Okay, we have Ed Peacock, Nick White, and she's gone, she's from UBC. Yeah, okay. And then Rob Sackle, and he will represent the most recent project we have started. Okay, just 3 more, and this is it.
Thank you. I got to know Paul really in about, excuse me, in about
about 1980, and had the privilege of working with Paul fairly closely for about 10 years. Now, that was at Trent University. Trent is a small university, was then, still is, and I actually had heard a few things about Paul before I actually got to really interact with him. One of the things that I'd heard about Paul was his work ethic. Rumor was that even when he wasn't working, one of his common expressions was, "back to work." The other thing that I had heard about Paul was his creative genius. He could generate research ideas at lightning speed and faster than even a multitude of research assistants could possibly begin to implement those research ideas. He could also revise those research ideas before anyone could begin to implement them as well. But I got to know Paul as I got involved with his research. And Paul became my mentor. Now, by definition, a mentor is someone who is a wise individual, a wise and trusted guide. And certainly, Paul became a wise and trusted guide for me. We participated in a number of studies together, but importantly, Paul shared of himself, as so many people have talked about. He shared himself with me, his time, his knowledge, his patience, and he encouraged me greatly. And yes, Paul, you often prodded me when I needed to be prodded as well. And it was really as a result of that prodding, Paul's prodding, that I ended up going back to graduate school and completing a Ph.D. under Paul's supervision because he had prodded me to do that, because he had faith in me and believed in me and my abilities. And I thank him for that, Paul. One of the things that Paul emphasized was clear writing and clear thinking. Clear writing and clear thinking. Unfortunately, those aren't characteristics that come naturally to me. And Paul, I remember a number of occasions when you pointed out how my writing was convoluted and represented muddled thinking. Now, of course, you always express that in your incomparable, direct, dare I say, blunt manner. I always knew where I stood with Paul. One of the things that I guess that stands out the most for me in terms of participation in research with Paul was that we worked together to create the stress appraisal measure. After doing a number of studies with it, I was still hesitant to have it published, but Paul urged that we go ahead and publish it. And ever since then, Paul never ceases to remind me about how he was right about that and I was wrong, including once again today. That paper made an important contribution to the literature 20 years ago, and it is still being cited today, and it's a useful guide, a useful tool for people doing stress research today. Paul, there's so much more I could say, but I want to thank you. It's such a privilege to be able to be here with your family, your friends, your colleagues. All the best. Happy 75th birthday.
And we're going to call on Nick.
Hi, good evening everyone, and I will keep this short because a lot of what I've said has already been covered tonight. I've had the privilege of having a number of good teachers. A handful of them stand out. ranging from my grade 8 teacher to some high school English teachers, my graduate advisor, postdoctoral advisor, and as an undergraduate, Paul Wong at Trent University. And I come into his class, just come into third year at Trent 39 years ago, this September. I was a bit apprehensive. I didn't know Paul. It was an area that was considered very important. These were the days of B.F. Skinner when his influence was starting to decline. I wondered if I'd be bored. Not the case. I found Paul to be knowledgeable, creative, very open to new ideas, very much an intellectually stimulating course. I went on to do a fourth-year research project with him. I went on to U of T. The environment's already been described, I won't repeat it. Paul was very helpful, not only in terms of intellectual development, but of being supportive in the U of T environment. Finally, I went out to Arundel, and there I found a mentor who shared a lot in common with Paul. I went on to do a postdoc at Rutgers, so much further away. I still remained in contact with Paul, and I started teaching myself and working with a lot of students who were largely third and fourth year undergraduates. Paul's influence remained. He was one of the two mentors I had who helped me, even though we're both far away, who helped me work with those undergraduates. And I think they acknowledged indirectly that Paul did a very effective job. So what can you say about a good mentor like Paul? A high degree of personal integrity, willing to state his views. Paul's faith commitment was obvious underlying his work, and I think it's even more obvious with what he's doing now. It's important, many of my teachers had high standards. Many of them were pragmatic, and Paul definitely had high standards and was pragmatic, but he was also passionate about his work. And I think that is what made that handful of mentors stand out. They are all displayed enthusiasm. They were passionate. They transmitted that passion, and that has been very useful. And I found myself in situations where things have been going badly. I've remembered that passion is possible, and that has helped me move on. Paul was not afraid to give critical feedback, and I think that's very important. It was not particularly pleasant at the time, but in time I've learned that it was necessary to solve complex problems, to deal both personally and professionally, and to deal with what's thrown at you at life. You needed to be able, that was a good training to deal with problems in the future, complex problems. And finally, Paul was always interested in me, and it's very obvious, his many other students as a person. Didn't matter that our interests diverged, we went on and did different kinds of topics, although mine hadn't diverged all that much. He was still very interested, concerned, and so I think the only thing that I can say to Paul, apart from wishing him a happy birthday, is thank you.
Rob, could I ask you just to wait a bit? And I was reminded I missed two people. Mika?
It's a real honor to be up here. My name is Mika. I have a lot of nice things to say about Paul, but I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Under 3 minutes, that's the time I was given, and I timed myself, so I'm pretty sure I'll be within the time. So I'm a former grad student of Dr. Paul Wong from the Counseling Psychology program of Trinity Western University in Langley, BC. Dr. Wong had invested 13 years into starting and teaching in our program. We're happy to say that his hard work has paid off, as many of our graduates have continued on with our education and doctorate programs or hold successful careers in the field. During my training at the program, I have had many opportunities to learn from Paul, as he was my professor, thesis supervisor, and boss. I was his research assistant for many semesters. One of my main duties as his assistant was to help him with filing. Oftentimes, Paul would be working away on his computer, and I would be quietly filing away the many piles of papers and articles. While I cannot tell if his office was any neater than before he had hired me, but one thing I can be certain are the many meaningful conversations we've had in his office. In particular, I remember at one point in the program, I was having self-doubts and was uncertain about my abilities. Just when I was about to say something in that regard, Paul swung around in his chair and looked at me sternly and said, "You can have all the doubts you want about yourself, but don't you ever dare have doubts about my choices." 10 years have gone by, and from time to time in my career, my confidence may fall and rise, but during my low moments, I would remember Paul's stern look and what he had said to me that day, and then pick myself up from there. Paul taught me the meaning of life, not just by his lectures, but by the way he lives his life. He showed me how to live a God-fearing life and be faithful to one's calling. I will summarize my appreciation for Paul with one Chinese proverb, 一日為師，終生為父. A translation of that is that my teacher for one day, but regarded as my father for life. 師父, thank you and happy 75th birthday.
Thank you, Lisa. And Maria? Is Maria here? Yes. We are switching gears now.
Well, I'm a little different. I'm a second year undergrad at the University of Windsor, and I was accepted for a poster submission for this conference. This is my first conference and the first time ever I've done a poster. So I want to say on behalf of myself and all these student presenters, thank you, Dr. Wong, Dr. Kenhart, and Dr. McLafferty for giving us this wonderful, amazing opportunity to present our work, to meet professionals from all over the world, and for a lot of us, this may be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So thank you, Dr. Wong, and happy birthday.
Thank you, Maria, and all the best in your future research.
Good evening. I'm pleased to speak to you for the next few minutes about how I've benefited from the Toronto Meaningful Living Group in general, and Paul's support and guidance in particular. Every other Sunday afternoon, people from all over the city gather at Dr. Paul and Lillian Wong's home. On a given meetup in the Meaningful Living Group, more than 30 people pack into the living room. Last year when I joined the group was much smaller, but today the group has over 200 members from the Toronto area. I joined the Meaningful Living Group just over 1 year ago. Our first meetup was on Canada Day long weekend. At the time, I was still uncertain about whether to continue studying for a Ph.D. in psychology. Feeling a bit anxious about my unknown future, I rang the doorbell at Paul and Lillian's home. Instant relief as Paul and then Lillian greeted me. Paul was smiling and delighted to see me, dispelling my early fears on this adventure immediately. We had a friendly chat as we got to know one another. It was from this point that I received an exceptional level of support from Paul. This has been above and beyond what I expected, and what I understood had been received from Paul's students elsewhere. Meeting Paul encouraged me to continue studying psychology. I felt more prepared and confident in the knowledge that I had strong support and guidance in place for me. Paul's regular meetings to discuss my dissertation have greatly developed my skills as a student. Joining the Meaningful Living Group and having the chance to meet other people seeking meaning has been very valuable to me also. I've gained a real insight into what motivates people, the topics Paul was teaching, and how I could best live the principles of meaningful living. The many chats I've had with others in Paul and Lillian's home have provided some of the most rewarding moments during the year for me. I was keen to join fully in learning more about what makes life meaningful. and the relationships I've formed in the past year have helped me to learn a lot about meaning. Getting to know Paul and Lillian has been very beneficial. Friendly, professional, and approachable, both have been excellent role models and have gone out of their way to help and support me. I feel Paul and Lillian's encouragement and support have been crucial in my development as a doctoral student. I believe everyone can benefit from understanding and insights about meaning. I'm grateful I had the opportunity to work with one of the strongest voices in psychology today, Dr. Paul Wong, and gain opportunities, responsibility, and guidance. I've learned the human capacity for meaning-seeking and meaning-making not only repairs what is broken, but also provides pathways to well-being and flourishing. I've also learned to never be afraid of the unknown, because it's the only place where your destiny belongs. And I'm the last speaker for tonight, and I'm honored to close out the 2012 Meaning Conference, and I just want to say that there's one more. Well, I was going to say that the Toronto Meaningful Living Group's got a lot of hope and positive things for the future, so.
Her name is Wong Yoxin.
Yeah, so actually I'm also Dr. Wong. I always introduce myself Dr. Wong, and back in my mind, that's the Dr. Wong behind me. So when I was in the counseling room, I feel very supported. I'm also a psychologist, and I know Dr. Paul Wong through Lillian Wong at UBC. And we have experienced a lot of the first time. The first time we joined the home group in Coquitlam, and actually it's quite far from UBC to Coquitlam. It takes about an hour, and we have a 2 very small baby. But every Friday we went, and we really enjoyed the group. And through the group, we also have our first experience of funeral services. And Ming can speak a little bit more about it. And also, I joined the first Meaning Conference in Vancouver, and I've attended 6 Meaning Conference, except the first one in Toronto. But this time, I'm a bit thinking, should I go? But when I know that it's Dr. Wong's 75th birthday, I say, I have to come with my husband.
Yeah, like Dr. Paul Wong and Lillian always attract us. We drove like an hour to their home group in Coquitlam, and I just want to share like one moment that I was like deeply, I still remember it because we came to Canada when many Hong Kong immigrants are trying to find insurance and immigrating out from Hong Kong. And I remember in the home group that we have, Dr. Wong opened his home as you have heard about. And we have this big groups of immigrants coming to Canada with high hopes. But we always share laughter and things, and it was always like happy. But things are not, it's not always well. So I remember one incident that, we have a group member who just immigrated to Canada for 6 months. And then this breadwinner, the husband, just have we don't know what happened, but just passed away. And for things like with deep meaning, there's nothing low in priority for Dr. Wong. So I remember he just told us we have to go there, we have to be present, we have to support this family that came here for lots of hopes and meaning, but have to stumble upon this kind of tragedy. And so we went. It was too accidental, and no relative was able to present in the memorial service. And it was I think I remember. Probably memory might be distorted, this day, But I remember that, our group is Dr. Wong and Lillian Wong, and our group was
were the only persons there to witness and to get through this tough time with the family. I don't know what happened afterwards because it was private and it was so many things, but they really lived the message, and I was like deeply impressed with this kind of really helping people around him to find meaning, and thankful for all the group moments and all the learnings, and congratulations for your 75th birthday, and hopefully you continue to inspire us.
I love to call your chin. Thank you. Thank you. I told my wife that I would rather hear from friends from my life than one may cover. I think most people should have some celebration like this so that, to give more. It's more meaningful. Talk to dad about how great he is. He doesn't know it. I can't hear it, right? So to conclude, if you ask me, what's your secret of living a happy, fulfilled life? I say, number one, love God. Number two, make sure your wife's happy. Okay. If I fail to make her happy, my life will be miserable. so one of my problems in life is to keep my wife happy so that I can help other people. Thank you.
We have honeymoons every day.
Oh, yes, she was. Thank you for coming. Good night and God bless.